Hi, my name is Alan Thomas, and I'm a Family Support Coordinator with Carolina Donor Services. I would like to introduce our President and CEO, Danielle Neufeld, for the official welcome.
Thanks, Alan. Hi, welcome. I wish we could be in person together. It was not to be this year, unfortunately. Usually we do these events throughout our service area in Winston-Salem, Durham, and Greenville, but we are so glad that you've decided to join us in our live virtual event to honor your loved ones. We have over 700 people that have joined us today. So that's members of our board of directors, the chair of our board, Van Smith. We have cherished hospital partners that have joined us today, members of the dedicated Carolina Donor Services team, and also you, our very cherished donor family members that are here to honor the special lives of your loved ones. So what you're going to see in the next 45 minutes is a touching story of a father to his daughter. We're going to unveil these beautiful 2020 donor quilts. We're going to be hearing from an organ recipient about the amazing journey that they've had and a second chance at life. We will also be doing the donor video, memorial video, which is wonderful. We'll be hearing from 2 tissue recipients about the power that the gift of tissue donation has had in their lives. And whether you received a candle from us or you have one at home that you can use, I encourage you to participate with us at the end of the tribute with the donor lighting with the candle lighting ceremony. I am so grateful to report that 2019 was a record-breaking year for Carolina Donor Services. We saved and healed more lives than ever before because of you and your loved one's decision to say yes to organ and tissue donation. We had 265 organ donors last year, which resulted in 811 people receiving their life-saving organ transplant. That represents a huge increase for us from the previous year. And the same with tissue donation. We also had record-breaking number of tissue donors last year. We increased 14% in tissue donation with 1,278 tissue donors, and that resulted in a 24% increase in the number of tissues that were provided to heal lives. So we are so grateful for the individuals that have contributed to these gifts. And behind all of those numbers are the individuals that are fathers, sons, daughters, wife, mothers. We are so grateful for all the contributions that have been made to save lives. We, as long as all of the recipients that are tied to these gifts, call all of these individuals heroes. But despite all this great progress, there's still so much more that needs to be done. Throughout the United States and North Carolina, there are over 113,000 people that wait for this life-saving gift of organ donation. That's over 3,000 people in North Carolina. These are our friends, neighbors, coworkers, maybe even your friends and family. So what I hope you'll do after this event is continuing your healing journey by being a volunteer with Carolina Donor Services. With us, you can share the story of your loved one online and share with people that want to know more about the powerful impact of organ, tissue, and eye donation. And please, if you haven't registered to be an organ donor, please register at the DMV by saying yes or at registerme.org. One organ donor can save up to 8 lives, and one tissue donor can impact as many as 75 lives. So I'm excited that you're here with us today, and I look forward to honoring your loved ones and you. Alan?
Thank you so much for that amazing, amazing welcome. And thank you all again for being here and joining us during this virtual donor family tribute. Our first virtual video comes from an amazing man, Mr. Brad Benton. In 2016, Mr. Benton's daughter, Lindsay, became an organ and eye donor. Mr. Benton, in her honor and legacy, founded and is also the president of the Lindsay M. Benton Foundation. He also wrote a book. The book's entitled A Father's Grief, A Year in Healing. So at this time, let's welcome Mr. Brad Benton.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for attending this year's Donors Tribute. Thank you to Carolina Donor Services for asking me to speak. I do consider it an honor and a privilege each time I am asked. My name is Brad Benton, and I was born, raised, and still live in Leland, North Carolina. I am married to my wife of 7 years, Kelly. I have a son, Jarrett, who is 23, and a daughter, Lindsay. Jarrett and Lindsay's mother is also named Kelly, which has made for some very interesting conversation over the years. Our daughter passed away 4 years ago. She was 17. She was in a horrific traffic accident while leaving our neighborhood, just one day before starting her senior year of high school. The impact from the collision was so hard that it shifted her brain to one side of her skull. It also broke every bone on the left side of her body, every bone except for her rib cage, the body's protective cage for its organs. When we were told this in the hospital, I knew that there had to be a reason. See, Lindsay had registered to be an organ donor when she received her license at 16. We never really had a discussion about organ donation. It's just something that she wanted to do. You see, Lindsay had a dream, a goal to become a surgeon. July of 2016, she attended the National Youth Leadership Forum for Medicine at Chapel Hill, where she was able to confirm that dream. And when we picked her up, the first words she said to us was, "I want to be a surgeon and I want to save lives." Those words echoed in my memory the entire week she laid unconscious in the STICU at New Hanover Regional Medical Center. At the end of this week, which was a week full of tests, meetings, consultations, hugs, tears, and many broken hearts, Lindsay's mother and I had to make some of the most devastating decisions any parent should ever have to make. But there was one we didn't have to. We did not have to decide if we were going to follow through with Lindsay's decision to be an organ donor. She had already made that for us. Now, with Lindsay being a minor, we could have said no. But those words were still echoing in my brain. I want to save lives. And during a meeting with our family counselor, Rodney Pilson, whom I say is one of the greatest human beings I've ever met. He is the most caring, kind, compassionate person that just has such an air of goodness surrounding him. But in that meeting, I asked him if direct donation was possible in North Carolina, and he replied, "Yes. Do you know someone who needs a gift?" And I did. A coworker I had worked with for 23 years' wife needed a kidney. At the time, she was number 182 on the kidney transplant list. In his eyes, you could see the excitement, but you could also see the empathy. He asked if we could contact her or her husband and get her medical information and find out what hospital she was registered at. About an hour later, he came to me with a smile that could only mean one thing. On paper, they were a match. The next day, as we all gathered around Lindsay, I held her wrist so I could feel her heartbeat, and I held it until I felt the last one. And then she was gone. And we had lost a huge part of our lives. That hole that was there was now starting to grow bigger. And as we all walked back to the waiting area, I asked my wife, "What do we do now?" And she so lovingly said, "We go home." We've all been there. We've all had those feelings of being lost, of emptiness, and not knowing what to do. And as I woke up the next morning, I knew what laid ahead. But my mind went to Tennessee, Duke Hospital, and Chapel Hill Hospital, because that is where the recipients of Lindsay's gifts were. We were starting a week to mourn the end of a life, and they were starting a week to celebrate a new chance at life. We were going to plan a funeral, and they were planning a homecoming. We had lost a daughter, and they had a renewed lease on life. We made it through that week with each other, just like all of you did. I often wonder if the recipients of our loved ones' gifts ever think of them. Do they ever wonder who they were, what they were like? What color were their eyes? What color was their hair? Were they good people? Were they married? Did they have children? What were their dreams, their ambitions, their goals in life? Do they ever think of the sacrifice that the donor and the families made? This pops into my mind on those certain days, like this past August the 28th, the day that we lost Lindsay 4 years ago. Her birthday, any holiday, high school or college graduation days are bad for me. But the most difficult for me are weddings and funerals. Weddings, because I'll never get to walk Lindsay down that aisle. I'll never get to answer the question, who gives this woman in marriage? And I'll never get to have that father-daughter dance. And funerals, well, it's honestly just a reminder of hers, plain and simple. About a year ago, we received a wedding invitation in the mail, and I immediately recognized the names. I'd only been to 2 weddings in the past 4 years, and they were for both of my nephews. But I knew this one was going to be a difficult one. You see, the name on that invitation was the daughter of my coworker and his wife, the recipient of one of Lindsay's kidneys. My emotions went in every direction possible. I did not know if I could handle watching him walk his daughter down the aisle. But my biggest worry was not being able to handle the mother walking down the aisle. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized this was the closest I was ever going to get to see Lindsay walk down a wedding aisle. And I might even get to have that father-daughter dance. So we went, and the wedding was beautiful. And as the evening turned into night, I watched the mother of that bride, and you could see the happiness just glowing all around her. And I knew in my heart that Lindsay was loving every minute of it. The time had come for us to leave, and we began to make our way to speak to the bride and tell her goodbye. And I heard a voice come from the dance floor. Where are you going? You have not had a dance with your girl yet. You can't leave. And my heart just broke. And the mother of the bride made her way to me and grabbed my hand and said, you need to have your dance. I will admit it was not a pretty dance, but it's one I'll never forget. I just closed my eyes and pictured Lindsay there in a beautiful gown that I'm sure we would have had to fly to New York and purchase at Kleinfeld's. And as the dance ended, she gave me a big hug and she said, thank you. I knew what she meant, and it wasn't for the dance. I could see it in her tears what she meant. We said our goodbyes, but I had one more hand to shake, and that was the father, my co-worker. I saw him standing with an older lady, and as I walked up, he said to her, Mom, this is Brad Benton, and without him and his daughter, Jill would not be here with us. So I believe I have truly answered my own question. Do the recipients think about the donor and their families? I believe with everything in me they do. They have to, because a big part of our heart lives on with them every day. I just want you all to remember you are not alone. We are all members of a club that no one wants to join. And thank you so much for your time. and thank you for your attention. And I truly hope you enjoy the remainder of the tribute.
Wow. Such a powerful, powerful tribute, Mr. Benton. I'm sure all the families watching, many of you, while he was describing his experience, you also thought back to your own personal experiences. Thank you so much again, Mr. Benton, for sharing that very painful story. Painful, but also encouraging and uplifting. As we move forward to the presentation of quilts, many of you have already sent in quilt squares. Quilt squares that remind you of your loved ones. And we've included many of those on the quilts behind me. But for those of you who are still planning on sending those quilt squares in, please know that there's time left. That's okay. If you could just send them in by the end of the year, and we will include those quilt squares in our 2021 quilt. So on the quilts behind me, as you see, families have utilized things that remind them of their loved ones as they remember them. I see here an individual who's a UNC fan. We have a Giants fan. We have people showcasing their military service. So whenever you are able, please feel free to send in your quilt square that reminds you of your loved one, so that hopefully when we see you in person next year, you will be able to see the quilt put together. At this time, let's take a closer look at these quilts. Wow, such amazing tributes. It's something special about a family who knows their loved one better than anyone else to send in a quilt square that represents who they were as a person. So once again, thank you all so much for sending these squares in. And for those of you who plan on sending those squares in for next year, please know that you have until the end of the year to do so. Next, we have a recipient video. I was so uplifted and encouraged by listening to Mr. Brad Benton as he told about what it's like being on the donor family side. Now, we will hear from Mr. Zachary Crandall, who is a heart recipient, as he tells his story of what being a recipient means to him. So please, let's watch this video of Mr. Crandall.
Hi, my name is Zachary Crandall. I'm a heart transplant patient 2 times out. My first transplant was March 2009. Second one was September 16th, 2016. With my first transplant, I wasn't able to meet the donor. But with the second transplant, I was able to meet the donor. I must say it was a very humbling experience. I was very thankful for the heart, but I was also very, very saddened for their loss. Just no words to explain that situation. But also, I was able to continue coaching my AAU basketball team, where we was the #1 team in the country. We also won 3 state titles. I was also able to see my youngest son play sports, football, high school basketball, and also got to watch him play a year of college at Mount Olive University on the junior varsity basketball team. I also was able to watch my daughter become a nurse at Nash Day Hospital in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I was also able to be here to watch her purchase her first home. My other son, he works very hard and he takes care of his family. Proud to see that he's doing that on his own with no help at all. And I was also able, through my second transplant, me and my wife was able to purchase a home. Very happy, very proud to say. We was able to purchase a home, and also we were able to see my grandkids come into the world. That was just something I was glad to be here to see, man. To grandkids, man, it's just something special. I was just so happy to be here to see them, the ones, Alea, Quan, Emerald. I'm just so happy to see them guys here, man. I tell you, just a special time. I also would like to give thanks to all my coordinators, everyone at Duke Hospital, my surgeons, and everyone who had part in doing their part of making sure my surgeries was successful. But a special thanks, man, to Tara Miller. It's like she's just been there with me from day one, like an angel. She's been there from day one. Every time I call, she's right there. She's right there calling me back. She's making sure that no matter what the situation is, that she leave me feeling better than I was when I called. Can't ask for nothing better. And I also like to thank Rebecca. She works at Walgreens Specialty Hospital, man. Some of the things these guys do and don't get enough thanks for. She made the time off. She was off of work to come to the hospital to make sure I had my meds with me when I went home. And even after that, 4 years later, she's still, when I call her, man, she's still on top of everything, man, making me feel like I'm the only one that she's getting medicine for, man. It's just unbelievable how she makes me feel, man. So special thanks to her, and a very, very thanks to Tara Miller, man. And I also would like to thank my wife and family, man, just for being there for me. I also like to thank Jehovah God. Without him, none of this would have been possible. I wouldn't even be here at all. So just a thanks to everyone that had something to do with the success of me still being here. And just want to say that's part of my story, and thanks for letting me share.
No, thank you, Mr. Crandall. Such a moving testimony. For me, it was when he began talking about being able to see his grandchildren be born. You know, that's what many of you have done for people. You've given them the opportunity to see milestones in their lives that many of them worried they would never see. So, Mr. Crandall, thank you so much for sharing your story of what it was like to be a heart recipient. Up next is the donor tribute video. Many of you all have sent in pictures of your loved ones. And this is a very, very, very special time in this program where we take the time to remember and honor your loved ones by playing this very special tribute. such a touching tribute video. I hope that if you all have submitted a picture of your loved one, you were able to see them on this video. When I watch the video, I can't think of anything other than a video of heroes, because each and every one of them have touched and impacted the lives of others in ways that many of us will probably never ever understand. So thank you all for submitting those pictures. And we hope next year that you're able to attend in person, where we will also do the same tribute video and add maybe a few pictures, but also give you the opportunity to get on stage and share a few memories about your loved one. So thank you again. Up next is the tissue recipient story. Casey Johnson and Monique Martin are both bone allograft recipients. Ms. Martin also is a living donor. So in our next video, please hear them as they tell more about their story.
My name is Monique Martin, retired military. I am a living donor, but I'm also a recipient.
I received numerous bone donations, allografts, in the year of 1999 after the Columbine High School shooting. I was shot from behind, close range, and it shattered my whole shoulder bone and also several pieces of my hand. I was at risk of losing my right arm. There were several days spent with doctors conferencing nationwide about how to fix my arm, how to save my arm, and finally a doctor in Denver suggested using an allograft to piece my arm and hand back together.
I had 2 back surgeries in the Army. My first back surgery was September 2004, and they actually took bone from my hip and put in my back. The second back surgery was September 2005.
When doctors suggested using an allograft to piece my arm back together, I was still too sick in the ICU to have any part of that decision. But my parents had never heard of bone donation before. It was a brand new idea to them. They had so many questions. And they told me after the surgery what had happened, that I received a donor bone. But again, at the time, I was just surviving and really had no concept of what that meant until later.
If I could speak to my donor family, because obviously the bone came from someone who had passed away, I would thank them for that, contribution and, sharing their loved ones, being able to help someone else, because that's a hard thing as well. A family has to make that decision, or, they're thinking, okay, my family member is losing this and losing that, but it's also helping someone else down the line. You have to look at it that way. It's improving their life function as well. So if I could speak to them, I would be very grateful, and I would thank them.
People still don't know that bone donation is even possible, or the impact that it has on people, and that it really did. I say it saved my life. Medically, it didn't. But life to me it makes me emotional. Holding the hands of my kids on 2 sides, wrapping my arms around them, holding books for them. Life would look really different with 1 arm, and I'm very privileged to have 2 because of donation. One tissue donor can save and heal up to 75 lives.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ms. Johnson and Ms. Martin, for sharing your experience and your stories. So touching to hear just how tissue donation has impacted your life. Hey everyone, my name is Rodney Pilson. I'm the manager of Family Services. And this year I get to lead our annual candle lighting ceremony. For many of you, you received a candle in the mail from us. I'd like to invite you now to go and get your candle and turn it on and join me in our candle lighting ceremony. At the very center of our being is an awareness of an end to a valued relationship, and we are here to remember our loved ones who have died. Someone precious is no longer part of this life on earth. We grieve that because we miss their physical absence, but we also rejoice and celebrate to have known that love. We light our first candle in memory of those who we have loved and lost. Just as we are brought together by loss, so are we brought together because of the unselfish decision for our loved ones to become organ and tissue donors. These gifts have brought hope, renewal, and transformation. Our loved ones are heroes. We light our next candle to honor the gifts that heal and sustain life. We are all bound together by a common bond of loss and generosity. In this spirit, we remember one another with love, with understanding, and with hope. We share joy as well as our sadness. We share peace as well as our anger. We share faith as well as our doubt. We help each grieve. We help each other grow. We light our final candle in honor of all of you, our donor families. We are not alone. Thank you. Alan?
Thank you so much, Rodney, for that very, very, very impactful candle lighting ceremony. As we prepare to close, I want to once again thank you all for spending this time with us as we honor the lives and legacies of all of your loved ones. Thank you again. We hope to see you next year. And before we go, if you don't mind, if you're willing, we would like to ask that you think about registering to be a donor yourselves. You can go to registerme.org and sign up to be an organ and tissue donor today. Thank you all so much for your time. We'll see you soon.